Hey everyone, welcome to Taking the Pulse, a healthcare and life sciences video podcast. Today, Matthew Roberts and I are joining you from NC Bio, the 2023 annual conference, bringing together some of the regions and really the nation's leaders in the life sciences industry. And joining us right now is Shirley Paddock, she of Syneos Health. She is a Senior Vice President of Clinical Development. And Syneos, if you're not familiar with it, is a biopharmaceutical solutions organization designed to help clients with clinical development and research needs. Shirley, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
You are also, if I recall, you're the local chair of the professional organization Women in Bio in the RTP. Is that correct
Yes,
as well?
that's correct.
Okay, so a couple of roles here today. Start us off by giving us an overview of Syneos Health's mission and how you and your team support clinical development in all phases.
Okay. Like you mentioned, we are a biopharma solutions organization, and we do offer services in all phases of clinical development. So starting in phase 1, going through phase 4, even working into what we'd call real world evidence, health outcomes, et cetera, and medical affairs. From a clinical perspective, that's our biggest. That's where we serve our customers. Given our basic. Given our deep expertise in the clinical space across a lot of therapeutic areas, a lot of different indications, we are able to serve our customers by helping them accelerate their needs. So accelerating clinical trials, accelerating outcomes to eventually get life-changing, life-saving medicines to patients.
Right. So how does Syneos separate itself from other companies who do this? Because they do combine clinical, medical affairs, and commercial capabilities across the whole asset development continuum. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we do. We have clinical, obviously, medical affairs, which is sort of in the middle and on the edges of both clinical and commercialization. We have a whole commercialization unit. So if you think about the continuum across those, based on our expertise and capabilities in multiple areas, multiple therapeutic areas, multiple indications, what we can do is if a client comes to us and wants us to do, to execute or create a study development plan or create a clinical trial design for something in X disease, we can take all of that experience that we have in X disease across clinical, medical affairs, and commercial. So we can actually design using information we've gathered upstream or downstream, even a more appropriate clinical trial for them. So we use all the expertise in those 3 or 4 areas to make sure we're giving the customer the right
based on what they need or
yeah,
their
based on what they
specific
need,
goals
yeah.
are. Right.
What is Syneos One and what makes it unique?
Syneos One is very unique to Syneos, obviously.
Yes.
The branded name Syneos One. Syneos One is unique because we have the spectrum. Because we have the spectrum of clinical, medical affairs, commercial, et cetera. Syneos One takes a dedicated team, interdisciplinary, cross-functional team of our experts, right? And again, I mentioned a lot of expertise in different indications, different clinical trials, and different disease states. Where we focus in Clinical One is at the asset level. Okay. So we're not focused on just a trial. We could be. We're not just focused on a commercialization or marketing plan, but we cater to more particularly to the small pharma, biotech organizations who, depending on where they are in their growth life cycle, what their financial situation, their financial capabilities are at that time, they may not want to, hire tons of experts in, whatever disease state or whatever indications until they know if they've got a product. Right? So what they do is they come to us and they could say, hey, we've got this product. We want to do it for this disease state. We don't know anything about what the downstream payer access is going to be, the commercialization, how we should design the trial the best. So again, we use that whole continuum, but just in part of Syneos One as well, to better inform an asset level plan, integrated development plan, a commercial plan, a clinical development plan. So that's how it's different. We have the focus is much on cross-collaboration, but definitely on that particular customer. We will meet them where their needs are.
So you can scale up or down based on their needs.
Yes. And we can go all the way. Commercialization to me means, marketing plan, commercial plan, payer plan, as well as Salesforce. We offer Salesforce as well.
So part of what you do is help on the clinical trials. And can you talk a little bit about that process and why diversity has become much more important as we see clinical trials developed and implemented working with companies like yours?
Well, diversity in general, I mean, if you're looking at the U.S., right, just specifically the U.S. requires diversity plans now.
Right.
So we submit the sponsor companies submit those, and we can help write those prior to doing their key registration trials, because just in the U.S. alone, we're so diverse anymore. So that's why the requirement, right, has been put there by the agency as well. And more importantly, if you think about, I guess, the genesis of this, go back 25, 35 years, all registrational trials were primarily done in, 18 to 65, 18 to 70-year-old Caucasian males. But I was getting that drug, even if it's approved, right? All of our gender diversity, race diversity, even age diversity and lifestyle diversity, they're all getting the same dose, expecting the same outcomes, expecting the same safety and efficacy profile, which is risky, right? So it's critical now that we have different diverse patients in the clinical trials, because there could be a difference, right? We may be doing a disservice to, to African American female or a Latino male in just doing the generic all white male, all certain age range studies. So if we provide more diversity, then companies and doctors can actually better manage what they think is going to happen with the patient in terms of how well it's going to work, what could be some of the safety profiles, or even dosage. Dosage could change based on gender, ethnicity, et cetera.
How hard is it to try to get that diverse clinical base of participants? Is that pretty challenging?
It is challenging, and I, coming from the industry, been in the business for a long time. I mean, we've been looking at this, at least where I used to work, for 20 plus years, right? And it's been very difficult. A lot of that is, some of it was based on previous history with some of the ethnic groups in clinical trials in the U.S.
Right.
But right now it's still, it's very important, but it's still difficult, because if you think about race, gender, age, socioeconomic background, et cetera, not all those patients either want to be in a trial or can actually be in a clinical trial. So if you think of some of these, major health centers for different types of diseases, right? Some people may have to drive 3 hours. Some people may have to fly 3 hours. And a lot of the things that are required, they're like, I don't want to go in just to get my lab drawn. I don't want to drive 3 hours to get my labs drawn. Or see the physician when I can do something different. It's a burden. So our tagline on that is actually, we want to bring the trial to the patient versus having the patient come to the trial.
That makes sense, yeah.
Let's dig in a little bit more on that. How are you doing that? Because I know you're focusing again on the diversity of participants, but also spending time and money and thought on getting closer.
Yeah. Several of us in the industry, including pharma, we've been working on something what we call decentralized clinical trials, which basically means not everybody has to come to one central location. But in order to do that, you need tools. So what Syneos has been doing this for quite a while and has been offering this to a lot of our different customers and clients and sponsors, et cetera. But if you think about getting out to those patients, how do we bring the trial to the patient? What Syneos kicked off just earlier this year is we set up an entire DCT or decentralized clinical trial site network. So we're growing sites, we're creating sites, or we're educating sites that are closer to the patients that, may have some of the, they may have a lab, so they don't have to go into the original site. They can just go to a lab down the street or go to a lab in a small site versus having to go all the way back to the original trial site, which could be a burden on transportation and other things. And so if you think about what that offers, there's a lot of things we can do. We can, even if it's just transportation, somebody may not be physically able or don't have a caregiver, right? We and others can send a van to pick those people up, right? We can get local labs there. There's a lot of telehealth that we're doing now, even more since COVID. They're wearables, right? Wearables where, the patient can wear something, it tracks X, Y, and Z, and then it sends electronically to the investigator. So they don't actually have to come in and tell them all that information. So there's a lot of opportunities out there to bring the trial to the patient.
I can see how that would increase the diversity, help you increase the diversity then.
Make the logistics of the study a little different. So can you tell us a little bit about North Carolina and what you're excited about here in the state as Syneos is expanding its mission, doing the clinical trials, making that process better? What are you looking forward to in the next year? What has you excited?
Sure. Well, what has me excited about North Carolina in general is coming from Indiana. The fact I don't need to shovel snow, so that's one thing.
Yes.
Relative to innovation, the key thing that excites me, if I look at where we've been in RTP, especially 30, 35 years, we've grown. Our footprint's grown from an innovation perspective dramatically. So the number one exciting thing for me would be further growth.
Yep.
We have an innovation footprint here. I believe based on all the support that companies get here, we can expand that tremendously. And if you think of organizations like NC Bio, like First Flight Center, even what the state is doing to make it very appealing, one, for companies to move here from a tax financial perspective, but also the North Carolina state's commitment to STEM education.
Yes.
And also a lot of the universities and the state and some companies are committed to workforce development. So as we grow, we're also growing our talent by educating on STEM and coming up with a robust workforce development plan, but then when they get here, they have all the support systems through NC Bio, the Biotech Center, the CED, and others. So I'm excited about growth.
Right.
Yes. We've heard a lot of people talk about the collaboration and the energy within the state. So it's good to hear it from you as well. Can we end with a question about your role with the local chapter of Women in Bio? That's a national organization.
Yes.
You are chair of the local chapter, focused on getting more women in the industry and then in leadership.
Correct. The overall mission for Women in Bio across the nation is to engage and empower women in the life science business or the life science industry. And, we do that by offering, basically, my tagline for this is we go from classroom to boardroom. So we have STEM programs in the 4th, 5th, 6th grade on up, high school. We offer programs for college students, networking, mentoring, postdocs, et cetera. And then all through your career as a life science leader, life science employee as well. So we also have boardroom programs where, we offer boardroom ready programs at the national level, how to help senior women leaders get on boards, private, public, et cetera.
Idea.
And what I'm most proud about as it relates to Women in Bio, especially the chapter here, and it's a little self-serving because I am the chair, is two things. One, in 2022, we were able to double our membership from 200 something to 450 almost. So that tells me there's a need out there,
Yes.
right? So our programming continues to go up as well because we want to offer programming and classes and education that meets the needs of all of our members here in the Research Triangle. And the other thing which is specific that I'm proud about and I consider a success is specifically relevant for our innovation footprint here in RTP in North Carolina. So if you think about, we have a lot of startup companies coming out of Duke, UNC, NC State, all of the different incubators that are around here. All of those companies, if they make it to a certain point, are going to need boards. They're going to need board of directors who understand the startup space, which is much different than being on a board that's, a company that's 45 years old and that's public and they just know what they're doing. So one of the things that we started last year in the RTP chapter is an initiative that we call 3.8. The 3.8 initiative is named after March 8th, which is International Women's Day. And our entire goal for our particular 3.8 initiative is to prepare, educate, women in the area, all over North Carolina, to sit and serve on startup boards. Last year, we had 12 candidates. We graduated 12 candidates, and actually some of those candidates are already on boards now. So that, I think, matches very well with the innovation footprint that's here and what Women in Bio can offer to the area.
Yeah, that's
Right.
fantastic.
Yes, what a great program.
I'm sure you're going to have more than 12 next year.
Yes.
Absolutely.
12 already.
That's great.
Shirley Paddock, thank you so much for joining us today. Again, you are the Senior Vice President of Clinical Development and Project Management at Syneos Health. It was a pleasure to have you with us on behalf of our team and everybody watching today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.